My connection to the victim is that I was his deceased wife's best friend. And now that my mother had passed away, I felt like I wanted to share, the grief that I was experiencing and that he could relate to and that maybe his children could relate to. Now that my mother had passed away, 2 years after his spouse.
And then, but did you also send him nude pictures?
I was intoxicated at the time, and I felt like that was something that he may have wanted. I had a very bad idea about the connection we had. It was very wrong. And so that's why I sent those intimate pictures.
Okay, guys, this is a whole new level of crazy. This is a whole new level of scary. You see, this was not the first time, not the second, but the third time that she violated a protection order. She thought, well, since his mother died and my sister's best friend's former roommate was once his cousin, I'll go send him some nude photos of me because that's definitely what he wants. That's definitely what will cheer him up. His mom dies, so yeah, why don't I go and stalk him again? It's really scary. Imagine having a scary stalker like that chasing you. There's something totally scary and crazy about female stalkers. And we're about to watch a parole hearing that checks all those boxes. And the parole board, being as nutty as they are, it's going to make this entire thing that more infuriating. But don't worry, I'm here to share the details of the case. And this is the first of 3 insane cases. They kind of get crazier as they go. So make sure you stick around for the whole thing and check the timestamps if you want to skip over her very long opening statement. Now, with that, let's jump in.
Hi, I'm Portia Jones Brown, 437-840.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Portia Jones Brown, inmate number 437-840. She is serving a sentence of 7 years, suspended after 2 years and 6 months, with 3 years probation for 3 counts of violation of standing criminal protective order. As of today, records reflect parole eligibility date of February 17th, 2026. There is no victim input. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has not completed any programs at this time. Utilizing the Women's Nurse Needs Assessment Order, the offender's overall score for recidivating falls within the moderate range. This is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Hi, good morning, you all. Thank you for coming today and meeting with me. I have written a letter, and I'd like to share.
Thank you. Ms. Brown, you can have a seat if you'd like when you're reading the letter. Yeah, we appreciate, the formality that you're putting forward, but we can have this hearing with you sitting.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that because I am a little nervous. Thank you.
Right.
So I did write a letter and I'd like to share it with you all. It says, my devotion to being a positive and impactful person while incarcerated has greatly affected the quality and meaningfulness of my sentence here. Being granted the opportunity to fully rehabilitate myself would allow me the opportunity to pursue my goals of going back to school to become a licensed practical nurse, also completing my continuing education courses that would allow me to retain my property and casualty insurance license that I have successfully held for 11 years. Also being able to be reintegrated back into society by the Board of Paroles into the community would give me access to therapeutic mental health resources, such as therapy, AA meetings, volunteering opportunities, nature to self-soothe, as well as returning to my congregation as one of Jehovah's Witnesses, where I am a full-time Bible teacher. Applying the skills I have learned through weekly therapy with the social workers Chelsea and Ashley, and attending groups such as dialectical behavioral therapy, coping skills, trauma, art therapy, standing strong, shout it out, and the group New Thoughts will help me to manage my life in a way that wouldn't cause me to recidivate. Some skills I have learned through these groups, such as reframing, challenging disempowering beliefs, learning my triggers and signs of a mental health decline, as well as utilizing a pros and cons list to help me make positive decisions, as well as learning boundaries and mirroring that with vulnerability as a form of authenticity. Being granted to parole by the board would allow me the chance to apply myself to being productive in a way that was previously not learned or was simply oblivious to me. Seeing the positive outcomes that come from avoiding conflict, taking my medication, asking for help, and pausing to reflect on responses and consequences before acting solidifies my resolve to keep these habits. Also, my perception of authority has been transformed throughout this time. Understanding the necessity for authority, its loving place in this environment to protect and assist, has given me a deep reverence for all forms of authority and the benefits in adhering to the laws and standards of the free world authorities, such as law enforcement, parole, including probation. Please consider these profound elements of change that marked my time here at York, including the positive outcomes I've had while here, being hired as a tier worker for my unit, one of 12 people selected into the Connecticut Trades Builders Apprenticeship Program, being a full-time student, and being invited to participate in the Frederick Douglass Justice Panel for inmates, discussing important aspects of life for incarcerated women and advocating for improvements in our daily lives here. Thank you all for your consideration.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Jones-Brown. That was very well done. Gave us a lot of information that some of it was fairly new to me, or you provided a little bit more background for it. Thank you. We're going to ask you some questions. Then we are going to deliberate and give you our response. Now, today's hearing was continued from last month to reach out to the victim in your case.
Sorry to disappoint you today, but we will look to bring you before the board next month.
There is no victim input today.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Pohl will begin with questions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Ms. Jones-Brown.
Good morning, sir.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay, thank you. I hope you're well too.
Thank you. So let's just start at the beginning. Why are you in prison right now?
Well, I'm in prison because in January 2024, I violated the protective order I had with the victim by sending a slew of text messages and email and making a phone call, which violated my probation. And subsequently, there was a warrant for my arrest and I turned myself in.
So did you violate this protective order in any physical way?
No, I did not physically see the victim. I did not go to their place of residence or work. I did not do any of that. It was all virtual through the phone.
Okay, and so where are you with what you did now? So it seemed to me when I was reading about what you did, you were pretty obsessed with sending messages and things like that. Have you learned anything about yourself that will give you a different frame of mind when it comes to the protective order here, which is still in place?
Yes, so one of my charges that I pled guilty to was harassment. And the reality of understanding that someone believes and feels and thinks that you have harassed them has greatly transformed my idea and my feelings and my thoughts about my crime. I, at the time of sending these messages, really felt like I told Officer Boisford, I really felt and believed that I wanted to make amends, but now I understand that this is a form of harassment and this type of behavior is scary, frightening. And so now, after being incarcerated for 18 months at this point, I've had time to reflect and understand that this behavior, despite my motive and intention, not only is wrong, but it's frightening. And I don't want to view myself as a scary person. So my thoughts about the crime have been transformed.
Okay. Very good. I don't want to talk about it because we're on public stream, but you've taken care of your mental health while you've been in?
Yes, greatly. Thanks to social workers, Chelsea and Ashley, the groups I've attended, and really being open to medication and getting a medication that works well with me has helped me to manage my mental health issues.
And then I know that there were some programs on your OAP that you didn't get a chance to take, but you did take, and you talked about it. So I don't want to go into it that much because you've already given us a lot of what you've learned and things like that. But coping skills, the trauma group, Sister Standing Strong. You did say something about new thoughts. Are you in new thoughts now, or were you able to?
Yes, I'm in new thoughts now with the counselor Hutchins.
Okay. And do you know when that ends?
It ends in about, I think, the 3rd week of June or the 2nd week of June.
So when did you start it?
I began this Tuesday.
This past Tuesday.
Yeah.
And with the New Thoughts program, is it reinforcing some of the things that you learned in these other groups? Or is it all new information?
No, I really love New Thoughts because we have a group in our unit called Coping Skills, and New Thoughts complements what I'm learning through coping skills. So for instance, I brought one of the activities I won't bring it out because it's not, unless you want to see it, but one of the things we went over was we had an example of name a situation, name how you feel about the situation, how you feel, and what your reaction was to it. And in coping skills, we talk about how to use certain coping skills such as reframing when you have a crisis. And so they just go well together so far. I really like New Thoughts.
That's a good thing. So when it comes to sponsorship in the community, we haven't been able to confirm with your dad yet. Or is that, do you know when the last time you spoke with him was?
Yeah, last night. I talked to him last night. I had asked him if you all reached out to him, just based on the interview I had with Boys For. He let me know that there would be a contact with him, but my dad said no one reached out yet.
Okay, all right. Somebody did try, but we'll have somebody take a look at that. And then when you're going into the community, one of the things that I just heard you say was that you connected with a building trade somehow?
Yes. Oh my goodness. What a privilege, because just to be transparent, I don't want to hide anything with you all, and I'm sure I don't have that capability to hide anything, but I was previously incarcerated for this same crime. And my first time here, which is why I wanted to talk so much in my letter about how my view of authority has changed. I wasn't eligible for a lot of programs, a lot of opportunities because of my behavior in 2021 when I was here. But this time I have been able to be a part of a lot of programs, and the apprenticeship builder's trade for construction trades is one of them. And it's really exciting because we're learning skills about construction trades that would allow us to seek employment. There's a stipend they offer us if we complete the program. It's like a major privilege, truly.
That's great. And I know that you've you have a lot of options there. You're talking about nursing. You're also talking about the license that you have or had for property casualty stuff. So that's a good thing. So you have a lot of options when it comes to that. So I guess the last thing is, do you feel that you'd have any problem abiding by what the criminal protective orders say right now?
Not at all. One thing I was hoping I had the opportunity to talk about was, how hard I worked to accept my circumstances that I created for myself by violating the protective order. And, I did a lot of work, very hard work with the social workers, my medication, finding one that works to not only accept the circumstances of being in prison, but really, the ending of that friendship I had, 6 years ago. So at this point, I have moved on from that, and I have no intention of violating the criminal restraining order or protective order whatsoever.
Well, thank you for answering my questions today, Melissa.
Thank you. So Ms. Jones-Brown, I think you did a great job answering my colleagues' questions. And I do hear a lot of insight into why you're incarcerated and the significance of not abiding by the protective order and how important it will be to have no contact with this victim going forward. I wanted to ask, though, when you were interviewed by the parole officer, you admitted to violating the protective order by sending text messages and pictures of yourself. But I have a little note that you said you have unfinished business with the victim. Do you recall saying that?
Not in that context. Boisvert asked me why I initially even texted him with the protective order, and it's because I felt like at that time I had unfinished business. That's not at all what I feel now.
All right, that makes sense. Can you tell me why you thought you had unfinished business with the victim before, when you knew, having already been arrested for violating the protective order?
So when I was incarcerated and after violating the protective order in 2021, when I got incarcerated in 2022, my mother died. She passed away while I was in prison. And my connection to the victim is that I was his deceased wife's best friend who had committed suicide. And now that my mother had passed away, I felt like I wanted to share, the grief that I was experiencing and that he could relate to and that maybe his children could relate to. Now that my mother had passed away, 2 years after his spouse.
I see. Okay, I don't have any other questions. Thank you. Ms. Keys?
Thank you. Just going along that further. So in the notes that I had taken from the conversation with Officer Boisvert, it said that you had wanted to apologize to the victim, and that's why you were reaching out. You felt that was the unfinished business. Is that true?
That's correct.
And but did you also send him nude pictures?
I was intoxicated at the time, and I felt like that was something that he may have wanted. I had a very bad idea about the connection we had. It was very wrong. And so that's why I sent those intimate pictures.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. I know that's hard to talk about, but I appreciate you explaining that, because I just wanted to put the pieces together from the different things, but it all can make sense now. So I appreciate that. I know that was a hard question. Okay, so you have no reason now to communicate with the victim.
No.
There's no unfinished. You don't have to, and if you want to apologize for anything, you can apologize now. And then it would be done. But you're good. Okay. So I appreciate everything you've already said. I think I just have one last question. You talked about realizing how important it is, and you've been getting on the right medication. And I don't, again, as my colleague mentioned, we are live streamed, so I don't want to talk too much about that. But it sounded like there were some times where maybe you weren't taking it. How do you feel about remaining on it now?
I definitely need my medication to, thrive and to do well. And, the times I didn't take it while incarcerated, as I mentioned to the social workers here, I wanted to be sure that the behaviors and changes and the outcomes I had were truly things that I was doing myself, that I was capable and responsible for, and it wasn't some perfunctory side effect of the medication. That's the only reason I had stopped at times, and then I went right back on it. So I definitely need the medication to be my best self.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we people not, but people question the medications when it's for some sort of behavioral or mental health thing, whereas if it was for something else physical in our body, like diabetes or high blood pressure or something, that we would, we don't question it the same way. Where as long as you're feeling well and you're doing well, that's you, and that's, and it's just, same with our physical, it's all just helping our body to regulate in whatever way it needs to be. Exactly. To make us the most healthy person we can be, and to keep us that way so we can all thrive, like you said. And that's definitely what we want for you. Okay, I think that's all I have for questions. I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, we had no victim input. That's why the case was continued, but there was outreach done. All right, so Ms. Jones-Brown, we will now discuss your case and give you our decision in just a few minutes. So you can stay there. Just do not interrupt. Right.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So Ms. Jones-Brown is really turned it around. Her OAP programs, the ones that are there, she was not able to take it till recently. However, there are a lot of programs at York that are not OAP based programs that she's been able to take, which, that's why I had the question about New Thoughts and how New Thoughts was complementing what she's already learned in the other groups, which
seems to overlap the coping skills program.
Right.
Yeah.
With coping skills and just their standing strong in the trauma group, things like that.
Exactly.
That she's able to take part in. She is taking care of her, she's taking care of her mental health. She has not had a disciplinary report since her sentencing date. And actually in more than a year. So that's a very positive thing. She has a plan for the community and what she wants to engage in, including 12-step recovery, therapy, and faith-based help. She's articulated a lot of what she learned through working with people in MHU at the facility. She understands, I believe, thoroughly about contact when it comes to protective orders. Based on all of that, I would support parole today.
Thank you. Thank you. And you said it, I'll just reiterate it for my part of the deliberation is I do feel that Ms. Jones has a good sense of that she could have no contact with the victim in any way going forward. And I do see somebody who has really come to terms with what her mental health needs and the importance of taking good care of herself in that respect. So I am also find her suitable for discretionary parole today. Ms. Keys?
Thank you. I will be in the minority. I definitely hear my colleagues, and I definitely appreciate everyone's thoughts. Ms. Jones-Brown sounds wonderful. She's clearly very intelligent. She sounds very sweet. She did demonstrate understanding that I liked that she said that the word harassment really was kind of hit her and helped her to perceive what was going on differently. I think she sounds really, really great, and I'm very happy to hear that. The only reason I'll be denounced is I just wish we had more time of stability, but
more time on with what respect?
Well, as of the evaluation we received 2 months ago, there was a non-compliance with medications, and so the March 2026 assessment, that they're not currently taking medications, but they were working with her on it. So I just,
Okay.
and then there were DORs, although as my colleague had mentioned, they were over a year ago and they were prior to sentencing. And she has taken a lot of programs within a particular unit, but not offender accountability programs. So I would have just wanted a little longer time of stability, but I absolutely appreciate and respect my colleagues. It's kind of a toss up for me, but I'll go on the minority.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
do have that she's compliant currently with
Yes.
mental health medications, after having some difficulty with that, and has done a number of mental health programs. And really it was voices, I think, that she was lacking in terms of her OAP,
And
as
New
she's
Thoughts.
currently, well, she's in New Thoughts. Well,
It's not reflected on the record, but yeah,
Okay.
but yeah.
that could just not be updated, as the officer noted. Okay, so reasons for your denial are,
Inadequate institutional program participation,
okay,
and we can leave it at that.
okay. And Mr. Paul, what did you have for conditions?
I have no alcohol based on the basis of one of the violations.
I agree, yes.
Halfway house placement, out of state plan, mental health evaluation and treatment, or we mental health treatment and medication compliance.
That's really a toss up. I would say medication
I
compliance.
had put that, 'cause I believe they did note that in their assessment.
And then no contact with victim S.
Okay. All right, so in the matter of Portia Jones Brown, inmate number 437-840, there's a motion to grant parole on or after May 15th, 2026, which is today, with the following stipulations: no alcohol consumption, halfway house placement, mental health treatment with medication compliance, out-of-state plan, and no contact with the victim, SN.
So
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Aye. And the record will reflect that Ms. Keys voted in the minority due to inadequate institutional program participation. All right, Ms. Jones Brown, we wish you the best of luck. Please keep in mind that protective order prevents any contact whatsoever, and you will be arrested if in fact you violate that.
Yes, thank you all. I appreciate your feedback as well. Thank you for that.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Okay,
This concludes the hearing for Portia Jones Brown, inmate number 437-840.
right.
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, I gotta unpack this. I gotta get some things off my chest. And for those of you who don't like to hear me talk, there's timestamps in the description. You can skip ahead to the PDF file that we're about to see. The lady that actually pretended to be a teenager to get to her victim went into the home of the teenager, said, "Hi, mom, I'm your daughter's age. Let's have a sleepover," and then essayed her. Yes, and filmed it. Yes, that's the next parole hearing, by the way. But before we go there, let me just get some things off of my chest on this one, because this is just crazy. I know we'll have to give Aileen Keys, the empty suit, credit for not voting in favor. And, this is, if she begins to do this more and more often, I'll probably change her moniker of empty suit. She'll have earned it because, up until really now, I haven't seen her ever vote against the grain, so to speak. But still, I cannot get over the fact that in this hearing, when she brings up, she's like, "Well, you did send nude pictures of yourself, right?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, well, I thought that's what he would want after, I thought that's what he would want. I thought that would help him." And she's like, "Oh, okay. I understand. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you for, I know this is difficult for you. Thank you for sharing that. I don't mean to intrude, but thank you for, that makes sense to send nude pictures to the person who you're stalking." And this entire hearing was absolute madness. The whole thing. I mean, I listened to it like 4 times because I just needed to really understand what was happening, to grapple with what we just listened to, and it's crazy. She is an unhinged, insane stalker. She goes to prison in 2021, actually goes to prison because she violates her protection order so many times. Then I guess let's paint the picture around it first. So she is the best friend, who knows really what the truth is, of this man's wife. Wife dies, and she becomes an obsessed stalker. I don't know what the details were. I don't know exactly what happened, but it was he files a restraining order. She violates it, violates it, violates it, goes to prison, spends maybe about a year in prison, gets out, and because her mother died, she felt that she could relate to his wife dying. So she sent him pictures of herself to make him feel better. And the way that she talks about it in this parole hearing, and they're just like, okay, that makes sense. And also keep in mind, she's lying. She keeps getting caught in lie after lie after lie. And instead of them saying, wait a minute, this is really scary. This is like she is not ready to get out. They reward her. I mean, the number of lies that she is caught in are outstanding. Um, the parole officer interviews them before these parole hearings, usually like just a month before. The parole officers don't make these mistakes. They have in the notes that she said, I still have unfinished business with him. And then she goes on to say, no, I don't still have unfinished business. I thought at the time I had unfinished business because my mother, I thought that I could make him feel better or something. And then they bring up, well, you sent the new photos. Keys brings it up. For some reason, the other board members didn't want to bring them. I was like, oh yeah, well that was because I thought I didn't understand. I thought that it would make you feel better. And oh, okay, I understand. That's a good reason. She also says that she's going to move in with her father. She says, oh, I talk to him all the time. And the parole board's like, well, they haven't been able to get through to him. And whatever these are not coincidences, okay? We see this happen a few times, they are lying. I'm willing to bet, it's just my opinion, I can't prove it, that she is not talking to her father, that she doesn't actually have him as a place to go, but she is just making it up. I believe that she is an habitual liar as much as she is an habitual stalker. Think about this as well. What other lies did I miss? Oh, with the being medication compliant. Right? Oh yeah, I'm doing it. It's great. Everything's going great. And we find out it was just like a month ago that she was refusing to do it. And they're having to deal with that. Do you guys not see how dangerous that is? You think she's going to do it when she gets out? And then she doesn't even take any of the programs on her OAP. So it's like you can't I hate the saying eat the cake and eat it too. I don't like it, so I'm not going to say it. But they wanna have it every which way, this parole board. They want to be able to say that programs are the holiest grail. Let's release the sex offender back into the street because there's better programs on the outside. And they just they and yet she's here. She doesn't take the programs that she's supposed to take that they believe will help her, and they still release her. It's disturbing. I predict we will see her again. I predict that in her mind, she still has unfinished business with this guy, and I feel so bad for this guy. He didn't leave a victim impact statement, and not because he's not affected, but I believe he's so terrified of her that he knows that even him getting involved in any way. Now, it doesn't work like that with stalkers. The truth is, if he shows up and says that he hates her, in her mind, she would think that he's saying he loves her, and by him not showing up, she thinks that he is telling her that he loves her. So he's screwed either way. And I believe absolutely that you can't fix these stalkers. There's something very broken with them. And she's going to go right after. We're going to see her back. She's going to violate her special parole. I'm predicting it right now. Leave your prediction in the comment section. I'll read your comments when she comes back. Her full term date is 5/15/2027. That is a full year for her to mess up. And I predict actually that she will reach out to him and get revoked within the first month. I'll even go that far because she lied from the beginning to the end of this hearing. She still has unfinished business with him. The parole officer documented that correctly, and she is going to violate that protection order again and get revoked. Anyways, let's jump in to this next hearing.
Before I came in here, I was in a relationship and I thought it was the best thing in the world for me. She was from Vegas and I was from Connecticut, and it was like an exotic food dish that I had never understood. It was like Wagyu beef at the Korean barbecue. That's how my mom explained it to me.
An exotic dish. Those are some choice words for someone to make at their parole hearing about their 14-year-old victim. But listen to this. This is not the first time that she was caught doing this to little ones. You see, she was initially arrested 5/10 of 2018 for deviant intercourse with a minor. She only got probation for that and then was arrested again, pretending to be 14 years old, actually going to the home of her victim, telling mom, "Hi, I'm a 14-year-old friend," and having sleepovers, committing the crimes in that house. Now, for that crime, she was given a 10-year sentence, but suspended after 15 months. And since then, she has violated over and over and over and over again, at least 4 times I count here on Sir Richard's record. And finally, they gave her a small little sentence of 2 years suspended after 2 years. And here she is at her parole hearing. But it's the words that she says. It's the statement, the facts that she says that she doesn't regret anything, that she would do it again if she could, and that her only mistake was not understanding the Romeo and Juliet laws. That is absolutely frightening. Now, I'll go over all the facts of the case at the end. So with that, let's jump in.
All right, good morning. My name is Parole Officer Boyce. Today is Friday, May 15th, 2026. This is a hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Parole. Following board members are present this morning, and by statement made on the record, certified they have reviewed all statutory documents and available for information in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, Deborah Smith Palmieri.
Morning, Michael.
Morning, Aileen Keys.
Also present is also attending is the board psychologist. Can you please state your name and inmate number for the record?
Alex Combs, 429-693.
Thank you. This hearing is being conducted in parole consideration for Alex Combs, 429-693, and just for the record, also known as Alexis Combs. He is serving a sentence of 3 years for possession of a controlled substance, first offense, illegal operation of a motor vehicle under suspension, evading responsibility, and violation of probation with sexual assault 2 and risk of injury as the underlying offense. As of today, records reflect parole eligibility date of November 11, 2025. There is no victim input in the case. There is an offender accountability plan that has been reviewed that shows that the offender has completed the WARNA and Tier 2, and is also currently in the DEFY program, Second Chance Call program, and the Short Track Problem Sexual Offender program. Utilizing the Women's Risk Needs Assessment WARNA, the offender's overall score for recidivating falls within the median range. This is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Hello, my name is Alexander Combs, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be seen and heard today. I'm also excited to share all the ways that I've grown and have flourished given my circumstances. To begin, I'd like to take responsibility for my wrongdoings, as well as the impact I've made on my victim, my family, as well as the community.
Mr.
For my
Combs,
initial, Yes.
Mr. Combs, can I ask you to just speak a little slower?
yes, of course.
Yeah, we know that, sometimes you're nervous, everybody speeds up their speech, but we want to be able to take a few notes, and we want to be able to hear all that you have to say.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
For my initial charge, where I engaged in a relationship with my victim, I understand that even if I believed there were no wrongdoings in my actions, there were. And now, after years of trying to justify my actions, I've come to understand that there are laws in place that are meant to keep everyone safe, and I broke those laws. My initial charge is the result of 2 failures on my part. First is my own irresponsibility and not being aware of the fact that the Romeo and Juliet law does not exist in the state of Connecticut. And second, I blame my codependency issues. Being practically on my own since the age of 17, where I aged out of the family court system, I found myself completely and utterly alone. I found myself craving any and all feelings of affection from whoever I could, and that craving is what led me to break the law and engage in an inappropriate relationship. And as much as I'd like to divert responsibility to anyone other than myself, I cannot, because I am to blame, and it's my actions that led to my incarceration. For my initial charge, I'm utterly sorry, and I understand that there are consequences for my actions. And even if I don't necessarily agree with the consequences, I must live with the choices I've made. After being initially incarcerated, I've been reincarcerated multiple times due to violations of probation. And the only person I have to blame for that is myself. After a while, I told myself no more blaming probation standards or my stipulations or anyone other than myself. And to this very day, I still tell myself that. Ever since I started telling myself to take accountability, I've been able to really see changes within myself. Long story short, the truth is, I didn't follow the rules provided to me by probation because I was not ready to take responsibility and accountability for the crimes that I committed. And because of that, I've landed myself right back in prison. But I now fully understand what I did wrong and why it was wrong, and I sincerely apologize for my actions and which led me to be reincarcerated. Since my current sentence of incarceration, which started on June 13th of 2024, I've held myself fully accountable for my actions. To further support the personal growth that I've made, I've worked out a deal with the court to give me 3 years flat time with the termination of my 9 years of probation. The old version of myself would have taken my very first offer, which was 2 years and the continuance of probation, just so I could return to the streets. At this point, in this very moment, I would have been outside, probably at risk of coming back in. But in the process, I am so proud of following through with the decision that I've made for the initial 3 years. During my first 2 years, I've completed all necessary requirements, programs, and groups listed on my OEP, plus involved myself in a variety of extracurricular activities and programs. Some programs I've completed were Tier 2 with Counselor Mercier, as well as the PSB group with social workers Tara and Linda. In addition, I'm enrolled in Wesleyan University, where I'm actively working towards obtaining my associate's degree in general studies and just successfully completed my first semester as of today. I'm also actively participating in the Judy Dorman's Performance Project, which is spoken word and poetry, as well as active dancing that we actually engage in front of the Commissioner of Connecticut. And I'm the first transgender member as well, I'm proud to say. As well as being in Defy Ventures, which is an entrepreneurship program, I'm also the first person who's still enrolled and not completed to become a mentor due to my intelligence and as well as my availability to help other students in a variety of ways. I've also maintained a full-time job, first as a tier worker and now as a Zero North Common Air worker for 15 months. In regards to how I've spent my time here, I've finally taken advantage of the opportunities provided to me while incarcerated, and I've been doing everything I can to utilize the programs and activities offered to ensure I become the best version of myself. If I were to be granted parole, and even if not, I still plan on taking every skill I've learned and applying it to my everyday life. I plan on using all the varieties of coping skills I've obtained throughout every group I've attended as well. From utilizing my artistic talents as a way to relax and distract myself from my stressors, to something as simplistic as deep breathing. I've even taught myself that it's just as easy to walk away from frustrating, dangerous, and irritating situations as it is to entertain the nonsense. Except now, my choice is to always walk away. I have now been ticket free for over a year, and I've been even involved in FitRec for the first time ever. This is the first time that I've ever been level 2 as well, which I'm proud to say that I'm earning 4 good days a month. This bid has also been the first bid that I've ever had anyone on my visiting list. My parents are so proud of my progress, they've even video visited me multiple times during my time here, just to remind me. I've never realized how amazing it feels to have a support system that constantly reassures me and reminds me of how far I've come. I'd now like to acknowledge my support systems. If granted parole, I'd like to reassure the board that for the first time ever, I will not be alone. For the first time, I have the complete and utter support of my friends and family who are nothing but good influences to me. My friend who is rooting for my success has offered me not only a safe place to rest my head, but a job as well. Once released, I've already secured employment with Edson Manufacturing in Woolcott, Connecticut as an assembler, while I'll be earning a starting pay of $19 an hour with the possibility of raised pay rates. I'll be living with my friend who is more like a big sister than a friend, and she's nothing but supportive and only wants the best for me. I trust her with my life, and I know if I have the ability to succeed, she will be the one right on my butt pushing me towards success. I will be also enrolling in Connecticut State College once released due to my active and approved Pell Grant. And I plan on taking some remote classes until I'm able to find time within my work schedule. My parents have also offered to me to buy a phone, so I will be able to keep in consistent contact with my designated parole officer, friends, and family and update them on progress or any changes. My parents have also offered to purchase a Visa gift card for me so they can monitor the money that I'm spending to purchase enough clothes to get me situated before receiving my first paycheck. Before becoming incarcerated, I was involved with Aster program, which is a therapeutic service in New York. And I've personally spoken to them about meeting with a therapist and a psychiatrist twice a month remotely, so I can continue to responsibly manage my medications as well as my mental health. For the first time, I can say that I've taken all the necessary steps to ensure my success in the community once released. And I plan on following through with all of them to ensure I maintain my freedom by living as a responsible, law-abiding citizen of society. In conclusion, I have no room to go backwards, nor do I have the mental, emotional, or physical capacity to break my family and my friends' heart anymore by being a disappointment. I cannot continue to add to the hurt by making the same mistakes over again. It's time to prove that I've changed, and by responsibly arranging all the proper steps, I will continue to take huge strides towards becoming the best version of myself. If given the opportunity, I'd like to prove that to the board as well. I am not who I was at the beginning of my sentence, and I'm proud of myself for taking full accountability and responsibility for all my past criminal infractions. It has allowed me to become who I am today. Honestly, I would not change anything I've done or been through because it's helped me understand that the laws are necessary and they are meant to be respected and followed. And most importantly, things happen for a reason. Please allow me to set an example by proving that I can lower the recidivism rate by becoming a successful returning citizen to the community. I'd like to thank you for your time and your consideration, and thank you for giving me this opportunity to share how far I've come and who I've become.
Thank you, Mr. Combs. That was very, very thorough, very thoughtful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought it was just well done. Thank you. We're going to ask you a few questions. When we're all done with the questions this morning, we'll deliberate and give you our decision.
Of course.
Panel member Keys is going to begin with the questions today.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. And as my colleague said, thank you for that introduction. I was trying, and I appreciate that she asked you to slow down because I really wanted to write down some of what you were saying. And, yeah, and everybody, I do the same thing when I'm nervous too. So we completely get it. And you don't know you're talking fast until someone interjects and says, hold on. Let's see. Okay. So we're okay. So with the underlying offense, which you had referenced and you had said, although you originally didn't agree because you didn't think you were doing anything wrong, and you didn't think that we had the Romeo and Juliet laws. We apparently do have Romeo and Juliet laws, or we do have Romeo and Juliet laws, but it didn't necessarily apply. It would apply here if there's at least a 3-year age difference and the victim is under 13. And so I think it just didn't fall within this one. But so knowing that the victim was 14 at the time, and with the behavior that you guys were engaging in, can you consider why there would be laws in place that would want to protect somebody who's 14 years old from doing some of what you guys were doing?
Absolutely. Due to, just personal experience, I understand that someone at 14 may seem mature, but they don't have the mental maturity to make the decisions in which we think that they can. And I've taken all the necessary steps to understand that. Being the oldest sibling, out of 5 kids, I have 4 younger siblings. So when I look at them, I understand every reason to why what I did was wrong. Even though I can say that, in the charges it stated that it was consensual, I should have known that she didn't have the right to consent. And as the adult, I should have taken the precautionary steps to ensure that I did not danger her in any way.
Okay. And then seeing some of the social media, she certainly wouldn't have, can't consider at that age the potential impact of showing on social media, putting out there some of the things you guys were doing. And that could have, I believe somebody screenshotted or recorded a video, and that would be out there forever. And certainly at 14, she would not have the capacity to make that decision and understand the potential full consequences. So I'm happy to hear you explain that. while you were on probation last time, you did abscond and you had stopped attending sexual offender treatment and stopped registering as a sex offender. Can you talk a little bit about how you would approach community supervision now?
If you put me on an ankle bracelet, I would abide by it. I just believe, like I admitted to you guys, I wasn't ready to take responsibility for my actions. I can honestly say that my stupidity allowed me to believe that living the high life, in quotes, would have been more entertaining than being able to live as a normal citizen. So I used my excuse of not being able to live as a younger adult, you know, going to the club or going on vacations or doing things that you would say are the reasonable mistakes. Adult would be like, oh, do you remember this time? But if I were to do it now, I won't have any room to make those mistakes. I can't. Being that I've already arranged full-time employment, the only time that I'm gonna have off is sleeping. So I even spoke to my parents, I've spoken to my friend, and if one of the stipulations was being put on an ankle bracelet, I hope that you tighten it to the point where my foot goes purple. That was my initial reaction. So I have absolutely no room to go backwards. I would do anything I can just to ensure the safety of not only just myself, but those around me and the community, as well as my family. I need to be there for them as much as I want them to be there for me.
Yeah, and certainly, at a certain point we do mature in age. You were 24 at the time and 26 now. But you still, in terms of working and just sleeping, you will and should have a social life. And so, but hopefully now you recognize the boundaries of you have to have the social life, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you need personal relationships as well, but hopefully you've just gained a better understanding as to the healthy relationships. Actually, why don't you tell us about healthy relationships that you've learned from, because you did just complete problem sexual behavior short track in the facility. You just completed that. So why don't you tell us what you learned in that about healthy relationships and any other insight related to the issue?
Well, the first thing is consent is always the first thing. Somebody can say yes, but their body and their emotional and facial something you should take into accountability. Before I came in here, I was in a relationship and I thought it was the best thing in the world for me. She was from Vegas and I was from Connecticut, and it was like an exotic food dish that I had never understood. It was like Wagyu beef at the Korean barbecue. That's how my mom explained it to me. And I struggled with codependency even prior to me getting incarcerated this bid. And a healthy relationship should be with yourself before you rely on anybody else. And at this point, I just believe that if I were to even engage in a relationship, it would have to be with myself before anyone, because finding myself in this moment, I've now been single, only relying on myself for 2 years. It's empowering to understand that you don't have to rely on the affectionate affirmation or just the emotional affirmation of somebody else. I make myself feel good, but I should also be able to make other people feel good in a comfortable fashion. And that's all about what healthy relationships are. Being comfortable, being honest, not crossing boundaries, and being open to the criticism that you might be doing something wrong and changing those actions instead of being verbally or physically combative.
All right, thank you. Sounds like your parents, they really are supportive.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, and co-parenting, regardless of the adult situation, is difficult. But they are a team, it sounds like, and that's really great.
I'm adopted, so they adopted me at 7 months from Cambodia and then split when I was 2. So being bounced back and forth, I believe that's one of my reasons of codependency, because I always wanted both of them, but I could have one. But over the years, I've been able to take accountability for the fact that I always thought something was missing, and I pushed them away for years. But now that I'm able to understand that everything that they have done was for the betterment of myself, I understand why I've come so far, because now, like I said, they video visit me, and seeing my mom's face for the first time in 2+ years, I couldn't help but like, I try not to cry, but like, as soon as somebody asks you, are you okay? You cry. So
Oh, yeah.
I didn't cry in front of her. It was a little embarrassing, but when I went back, I was like, I saw my mom. So it feels really good to have them like each hand on my shoulder in spirit at all times.
Yeah, we did read about your background and everything, and yeah, sounds like they've worked hard for you as best they can. We're all flawed, flawed people, but it sounds like they've done as best they could. I saw that you do want to continue therapy or engage with counseling in the community. You had mentioned online therapy. Have you engaged in online counseling before, or why did you choose that? You have?
I have. So just from previous experiences, I have really bad social anxiety. Just like in the mental health, like, scenario. So like being a child and being hospitalized so many times, coming back into school or being in like inpatient, like I went to BOCES Beta, which they had a inpatient, like partial hospitalization program. It kind of made me self-conscious and embarrassed just to walk in front of those people. So just to start the comfortability aspect of it, remote, I've done it before. And since it's with someone who has dealt with me in the past, I reached out to ask her because they will be able to be like, so when you were 13, 14, 15, this is how you were. You're now 26. I see how you've changed. But I also still see a little bit of boing, like, all of this. And that's what I need. I need somebody who's going to lay it out to me flat and be very blunt. So I think the remote is great also because I can put the AirPods in, 20 to 30 minutes at break at work. Hi, I'm doing great. I don't think my medication is working. I might need to dose it. I can't sleep. I'm finding myself completely fatigued in the morning for work. So it's like easier to get in contact with them, but under the circumstance that they were like, hey, we can't meet with you today, I would automatically go to an in-person provider to make sure that all my needs were met, because I wouldn't hate to see myself, fall off that path because I didn't have that one specific person. I need to be open to a variety of help.
That's good to hear. And so have you reached out where you can return to the one that you had previously seen before? They are available?
So they're in New York, but they have some sister offices that they have known, and I'm completely aware of how a consent form works, where I can send them release of information and they can communicate back and forth to hopefully communicate with me properly.
Okay. Excuse me. I just want to look real quick at my notes. So the friend you want to sponsor to, and who also is the one that she's the hiring manager at the company, I did not see a letter. I know the officer, unless my colleague saw it and missed it, but I did not see when I looked at the file the offer, a specific offer. But we did hear from you that you have this offer of employment and that you have a confirmed sponsor, and the sponsor has been confirmed. How long have you known her? Sorry.
Since 2018. So the truth of our meeting was she wasn't here at one point, and she got out, and she has been nothing but successful. Successfully did parole, successfully did probation, and knowing someone who's been through the motions that I have been going through. So one of my issues with going to just therapy as a child was, why would I pay somebody who doesn't know me to listen to my problems when I have parents to do that? With Sammy, she understands everything I've gone through from an actual compassionate and sympathetic aspect. And that's what I need. I need someone who, like, even when I was outside, we weren't talking at that point because of course I had absconded, and I didn't want to involve her. But as soon as she realized I came back, she ripped me a new one. So that's what I need, is someone who's going to stay on me, but also be a great, just a role model. You know what I mean? Like, she just, of everything that she's been through, I aspire to be as successful as she has been in the years that she has been out.
All right. And you did complete tier 2. Can you tell us about that programming?
So it was addiction service referral. I did come in with a very large amount of marijuana in my system, so I qualified for the program. That program itself actually involved the top program, which was the timeout program for parolees and probationary people who needed that. So it was more of a broad curriculum, where it usually is based on drug and opioid addictions, as well as other, harder drug addictions. She opened it to a curriculum of domestic abuse and codependency, and it was more interactive and informative than I could have ever imagined. And at first I was like kind of pooped that I had to do a certain, because I'm like, I mean, I know I smoke marijuana, but like, do I need to be in a group with someone who does all of these drugs? And then I realized that I don't think any other counselor would have merged so many different topics into one thing. So I learned about my faults. I learned more about my codependencies. I also learned that we raise puppies here, and she allowed her to bring the social dog. So I'm rolling around the floor with the dogs, which is a perfect way to open me up in a vulnerable situation. And I think that has been the most beneficial program that I have ever taken, not just the curriculum bit, but Counselor Mercier's patience for us is impeccable. She dealt with 5 to 6 of the South Dorm attendees, so they're 18 through 24. So she had the patience for like the more immature. And then in my moments, I'm immature too, especially when there's like, "Are you paying attention?" I'm like, "I'm sorry, I'm petting the dog." But she always had a reason for me to stay attentive. And I finished all my homework with flying colors. I actually was in that group for my birthday, and she didn't make it seem like a birthday in prison. She just made it seem like another year that I was meant to live my life as the best version of myself. And I couldn't thank her or her curriculum any more than I can say in words.
Thank you. Well, I think that's all I have for questions. I appreciate you answering my questions. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good. Mr. Pohl?
I have them.
Yeah, I don't have any follow-up questions either. I think Mr. Combs, you did a really good job, thoughtful responses to all my colleagues' questions. So we'll talk about your case now and give you our decision in just a few minutes. All right, Ms. Keys.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have to say, I came in really concerned. I was very happy that Mr. Combs had completed problem sexual behavior in Tier 2, but I remained concerned. But I really appreciate the interview we just had and the lessons he expressed and his understanding of some of his core challenges and how they played into his behavior in the community. I think that will be really helpful for him moving forward. I really like hearing about his, the plans for release between the support of his parents and his friend. So I am actually in favor today of a grant.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pohl? Yeah, I agree as well. It appears that Mr. Combs has addressed many of the risk factors identified. He does score as moderate for risk to recidivate and low, according to the clinical assessment on a sexual assault conviction. Behaviors, he has the 2 disciplinary reports that go, one is the last over a year ago. So he is required to be on the registry for a lifetime. And I appreciate that he has his mental health set up with a provider that's familiar with him. So I also am in favor of granting his discretionary parole today. And what did you have for conditions?
I had a lot, so we can certainly discuss them because they are options. But I had a behavioral management program for problem sexual behavior, no contact with the victim, definitional, KA, excuse me for the pause. Halfway house placement necessary, but I got to take that off because he has a confirmed sponsor. Excuse me. I had mental health and evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary, but I am now in favor of not including that as an actual condition. It sounds like he wants to engage in that on his own. I don't know if it has to be a condition.
I would still include it in the
Okay.
conditions.
Great.
He is a
Okay.
mental health grade.
Yeah. Okay.
Should he struggle to get into some of his own treatment, there's always a nice backup, and they'll allow him to utilize his own services.
And I did have no driving without parole officer's permission, no contact with minors without parole officer permission, and enhanced internet and device monitoring.
Okay. Mr. Pohl, do you have anything else? Are we concerned about a pornography restriction in the sense that seems that that was part of the original offense
Is that when they were developing it?
when they were making their own?
I did not have that. I did consider it since it wasn't used to entice, and at least as far as we know, it was not used to entice into the acts, but
What do you think?
I'm open.
I just thrown it out there.
So,
I mean, it was with the victim with the incident offense. You're right. It wasn't used to
right,
kind of lure the victim or
Right.
engage the victim at all.
because, but that's so the two remaining, I mean, if we're looking at, I mean,
Okay, yes, okay. Well, we can include it if they want to remove it. You can have that as well. I mean, it is part of what the victim and Mr. Combs were involved in.
however, it was the fourth condition was also piece of that, right?
The no computer access.
I mean, well, it's a restriction on, so it would be monitoring.
Monitoring.
Because that's how it was transmitted, right? That was the allegation.
Yeah, I don't think it was an allegation. I think it was part of the offense.
Right.
Yeah, I'd originally thought enhanced internet and device monitoring would capture if there's pornography generation,
Right.
creation, but
We do
I
have.
think
If
it's put
part of
on
the
and,
offense, I think.
okay.
Right, and
Yeah.
that's,
So yes,
so it's like if it were one, it's the other, right?
I mean, not always, but because we do use the internet, restriction on the internet, if,
They might do Instagram. so
right,
if you
which,
have
well,
social
this
media.
case is, it's Snapchat, but then they were posting pornography.
Right.
Okay, so in the matter of, and we're gonna use your first name as Alexis, because that's what we have in the system. Alexis Combs, that's how 429693, there's a motion to grant discretionary parole on or after today, May 15th, 2026, with the following stipulations. Mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary. No operation of a motor vehicle without the parole officer's permission. Community-based treatment for problem sexual behavior. No contact with minors without the parole officer's permission. No computer access or
Enhanced
and
device.
enhanced internet device monitoring, and there's a pornography restriction. No contact with victim KA. Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Did I correctly phrase the pornography piece? I don't have
Restriction on pornography.
restriction on pornography. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Poole. All right, do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Combs, we wish you the best of luck.
Thank you.
Keep that statement with you. I think it'll help provide a nice framework for going forward.
Thank you. Have a great day, everyone.
You too.
Thank you.
This concludes the hearing for Alex, aka Alexis Combs, at a number 2969.
Let me recap this for you because this is nothing short of insane. If you don't think that this parole board has an agenda or that they're looking at this hearing and saying, what can we do? What can we do to release a repeat serial predator out into a home of someone who she was an inmate with? Is that what it was? Oh yeah, that's a really great plan. Someone who at the parole hearing actually goes on to say, I didn't know that Romeo and Juliet laws didn't apply to my initial crime. That was my only mistake. Only to have Keys, that empty suit parole board member, to walk around eggshells around her. I don't know. I don't know if Romeo and Juliet laws applied or not. It may have qualified it may not have qualified. I don't know. I don't think this would qualify. I'm not sure it would qualify. Keys, let me tell you something. It doesn't qualify. That's why she's in prison. That's why she's on the sex offender registry. That's why she's a felon. Are you nuts? How the hell are you a parole board member? In the same parole hearing, she sits here and she says, it was like an exotic dish. I couldn't help myself. All of a sudden, someone from Las Vegas who is a 14 years old is an exotic dish. What can I do? And she says in the same parole hearing that she wouldn't change a thing. She regrets nothing. How is it a repeat habitual offender, a low risk to reoffend? Let me show you. I need to show you what we're looking at so you can make sense of it. Because like, Mandoo, why are you so upset? Mandoo, you're something's wrong with you. Let me show you. 5/10/2018 in New York, she gets a sexual intercourse and contact. She only gets 60 days, by the way, 60 whole days. Although it was her probation officer that caught her again. 2/22/2019, she gets an SA assault second degree and risk of injury to a child. Here she gets 10 years suspended after 15 months probation, 10 years. We're not done. She violates that probation in 2023. She violates it again in 2025. She's failure to register twice. She has evaded a risk of injury in 2024, illegal operation of a motor vehicle as well. So, and another failure to register and possession of a controlled substance. So this is someone who violates over and over and over again, right? And has 2 sexual offenses in her jacket. Now, let me show you what the 2019 case was, just so you can see the full picture. This is not someone who doesn't know what Romeo and Juliet laws are. What she did is she pretended to be the age of her victim. He said to the mom of the 14-year-old, "Hi, Mom, I'm 14-year-old and well, and I'm just best friends with your daughter." And mom says, sure, you want to have a sleepover? Why not? So she manipulates her way into her victim's room, the type of audacity that takes. And mind you, this is after she's already served jail time in New York for a sex crime. It was that New York probation officer that was going through the social media accounts that saw her posting pictures with her victim. And meanwhile, this parole board, I don't know if we should do a restriction on those certain things. It wasn't used to lure her. It was only used to post of her all over the internet. Let me show with you just how insane this is. A 19-year-old woman has been arrested and charged with second-degree SA and impairing the injuries of a minor in a case that allegedly came to light on social media. Alexis Combs of Highland, New York, was arrested on February 2nd in Portland and held on $7,500 bond. She remains in custody at New York Correction Institute, according to the State Department of Correction website. An arrest warrant affidavit said that this case was brought to the attention of local authorities in August last year when Combs' probation officer, good job on you, probation officer. By the way, we do not salute and thank our probation officers enough, in my opinion. So they provided photos allegedly posted on social media platform of Instagram of Combs and a 14-year-old from Portland. The couple was lying in bed with their tongues touching and using what appeared to be the devil's lettuce. According to the affidavit, the probation officer told Portland police that she had seen images of the couple on social media platform and Snapchat and showed them half naked and kissing. Remember also how she starts off by saying, "My mistake was getting into a relationship and not knowing about the Romeo and Juliet laws." These are the statements that a chomo makes at the parole hearing, and they congratulate her. Just think about that. Think about it for one bloody second. That means you've learned nothing. That means you have no insight. That means you actually wrote a letter and used the word relationship and said that you didn't understand the laws. You were arrested already. You were on probation for a similar offense. Combs allegedly posted on Instagram with usernames like, "Yeah, that's great. Yeah, see, this is the name she's posting with. And this too. This is what every mother of 14-year-old wants sleeping in her bedroom. According to the affidavit, Combs and the victim told officers in separate interviews that they had done it multiple times last year. According to the affidavit, the victim said that they use this is what they use too, right? Every parent's desires this for their daughter in sleepovers. The victim told officers that she met Combs on Instagram July 2018. The affidavit stated that the victim said she knew Combs was 18 years old at the time, and Combs knew she was 14. When the victim invited Combs to her home, they lied to the victim's mother and said Combs was 14, so the guests would be allowed to sleep over. Combs was arrested July 18th last year in New York in a separate case and charged with third-degree SA and acting in a manner likely injury to a child less than 17. So again, this is a repeat offender. She was released without having to post bond. The allegations of inappropriate social media posts lodged by Combs' New York probation officer were forwarded to Portland police on August 17th by the State Department of Children and Family, according to the affidavit. The mother of Portland victim told the officer in September that she had been contacted by DCF investigators more than a month prior and had been debating bringing this case to the police herself, said the affidavit. Why wouldn't you bring it to the police right away? The woman told police that she was not aware of the relationship between Combs and her daughter. According to the affidavit, the victim's mother thought the girls were just having sleepovers. When she eventually found out that Combs wanted to be referred to as a male, she said that she told the guests to sleep on the couch downstairs instead of in her daughter's bedroom. Combs told police that the victim's mother knew she was 18 years old and that she was having it said the affidavit. Combs is next to appear at the Middletown courthouse. Again, let me go back through the record. In 5/10/2018, 2 charges, served 60 days. 2/22/2019, the same type of charges where she's given 10 years, suspended after 15 months. She violates 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times with additional new felonies, and then comes into the parole hearing and really shows that she has learned absolutely nothing. I wouldn't be surprised if we see her again on a revocation. This person has impulse control problems and has no insight. The idea that they would assume that she wouldn't go after the same thing to try to target more victims is crazy. We're about to see another hearing. That's crazy. This woman has one of the longest criminal records that we have seen, and it's insane that they keep releasing her out into the public. She is really dangerous. So let's jump in.
This hearing is being held in consideration of the parole application for Susan Mastay, inmate number 381552. She is serving a sentence of 8 years, suspended after 36 months, and 3 years probation for violation of a protective order, operation of a motor vehicle with a child passenger while under the influence of alcohol or drugs, and violation of probation with violation of the protective order is the underlying offense. As of today, records reflect a parole eligibility date of March 18th, 2026. There is victim input in the case. There is an offender accountability plan. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the work beyond violence, new thoughts, and tier 4. Utilizing the Women's Risk Needs Assessment Board, the offender's overall score for recidivating falls within the moderate range. This is your opportunity to tell the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
When I first walked through these doors of this prison, I was overwhelmed with the fact that I had 3 years to serve. Today, I look at the time I've done as a blessing in disguise. I fell into a depression, which added to an addiction that made me leave all my morals and beliefs behind. I was not the same person I grew up to be. Being here and working on myself every day for the last 18 months has given me the power to take control of my life back. Since being here, I've successfully completed the Tier 4 Marilyn Baker program, New Thoughts, Beyond Violence, and voluntarily attended 3 or more NA meetings a week and held a job through my entire sentence. I'm proud of the woman I am today, and I'm looking forward to a positive future. When I get home, I plan on attending NA meetings with my sponsor, taking care of my mother and my 2 children, and in the near future, I plan to work in recovery and attend CCAR to obtain my recovery coach certification. Thank you for this opportunity to be here today.
Thank you, Ms. Nastage. So we're going to be asking you some questions and then we'll deliberate and give you our decision. We also have input today from the Office of Victim Services.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I'm going to begin with the questions today. So you were on probation for a violation of protective order when you were arrested on some new charges, including the operating under the influence, where you were taking what you said were your prescription medications, but you seem to be not in the right state of mind at the time, even though they were prescribed. Can you talk a little bit more about what was going on at that time and how you plan to manage your medication compliance going forward?
Sure. That was an isolated incident. I had COVID at the time and my 2-year-old had COVID. We were up for the entire night before that, but I have a psychiatrist at home and I have a therapist that I see. So that's how I'll manage my medication in the future. But at the time, we had just been up all night and I had fallen asleep at the gas station when she fell asleep finally in the car. When I pulled up to the gas pump, I was waiting for a parking spot to be free in front of the store, so I didn't have to bring her in with me, and I fell asleep.
Okay. And what about the violation of the protective orders?
He wasn't letting me see my daughter at the time.
Mhm.
So I was calling him and harassing him, and I take full accountability for that. I went over to his house to threaten him with a knife, and I feel bad about it.
Okay. I mean, I appreciate you saying that you feel bad about it. We didn't, there was really no sense of remorse in your opening statement.
Yeah.
I think we can all appreciate that you wanted to see your child, but there's still protective orders in place.
Yes, I understand that.
As a panel, as a board, we're primarily concerned about how you'll manage all that going forward.
Yes, I understand that. Well, I plan on obtaining a lawyer when I get out to take him back to court for custody of her. So I don't have to talk to him. My lawyer can handle everything.
Right. Because in your opening statement, you said, get out and take care of my 2 children. Well, you don't have custody of the one child.
I have visitation rights.
Yes.
For Alice. Yes.
Okay. But I am concerned. I hear you have visitation, but
Yes.
there is planning involved. There's still no contact, no harassing. So I'm still a little unclear as
that's why I plan on hiring an attorney for him to take care of all of this, because I can't speak to him. So I'm going to have my attorney speak to everything and file the motion so I don't have to deal with it.
Okay. Well, I absolutely think that, that's the right way to do things.
Yeah.
And the only way to do things for you.
Yeah.
But let's talk about your emotions a little bit. Because that seemed to fuel a lot of what was going on.
Yeah.
And so how do you plan to manage your emotions during this time frame? Have you done any mental health treatment while you've been there, participated in any programs that have given you an opportunity to put together a plan? So when things don't go like you're hoping they will go,
right,
that you don't find yourself back at York.
Yes, no, I appreciate that. I have a therapist at home. They haven't given me any. I have a psychiatrist in here, but he doesn't see you that often. But I completed Beyond Violence. I plan on seeing my psychiatrist, my therapist. Just taking all the right steps to get this back on track again.
Okay. I heard you. I read also that you weren't really that you're not participating in any mental health services while you're there. But didn't you were in treatment prior to being arrested?
Yes, I have a psychiatrist and a therapist at home.
Yeah. So why will it be different going forward?
I wasn't seeing my psychiatrist that often or my therapist, so I plan on seeing her every week. And my psychiatrist, as often as he'll see me, he sees me about once a month.
And are you in the MAP program now?
Yes.
You are. Okay. And
Yes.
is that something you plan to continue in the community?
My Suboxone treatment, yes.
Okay. All right. And you have 3 years of probation again for these charges. And you've been on probation in the past. Actually, you've been on probation 11 times altogether, or some form of community supervision.
Okay.
And you've struggled with it over at least 6 times. We have unsuccessful terms. How do you see things being different?
Just, I plan on attending NA meetings out in the community. I plan on, like I said, seeing my therapist, my psychiatrist. I plan on getting a sponsor, taking care of my mother, just doing things, exercising, doing things that keep me busy.
You mentioned that you took the Beyond Violence program, and I have that you completed the New Thoughts program also.
Yes, I did.
So with those 2 programs, can you talk a little bit about how you think they might help you in the community? Any skills or strategies that you've garnered from that you think will be helpful?
Yes, with, what was it, Beyond Violence, I received new coping skills and new thoughts. Journaling, listening to music, exercising. They taught me, to be less aggressive.
What does that mean to you, to be less aggressive?
To talk out my problems and, talk to my therapist and my psychiatrist.
Okay. And how about New Thoughts?
New Thoughts. That taught me new coping skills as well. Like how to think differently, to change your thought or, to make the outcome different. So.
Did you think you benefited from those programs? I mean, I've heard you say coping skills a couple of times. It just seems like maybe they didn't have, and that's fine, that you don't think they had the greatest impact on how things will go for you.
No, I just plan on, taking things in stride at home, like not reacting to things as I did in the past.
Why do you think you reacted the way you did instead of, going back to the courts, talking with an attorney? Why do you think you took it to this extreme?
Just wanting to see my daughter, at the moment, not waiting, because she would be crying for me, or I'd hear that, he'd tell my mom things or something, and it would upset me. So I would want to see her, in that moment and make everything all right. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all understand, the emotions run high, especially when children are involved, whether they're yours or not. I don't think any of us can ever not be affected when we see children that are in distress.
Especially your own, especially when your own is crying for you and crying for your,
But I look at, you have a lengthy criminal history. Right?
Yes,
You've had some struggles with the criminal system. You've had assault and breach of peace and violation, conditional release, some larcenies. So, and I'm sure you've done a lot of different programs.
Yes, I have. I've been working on myself for the whole past 18 months. And, I just plan on going to NA meetings and getting a sponsor and stay out of trouble.
Is that things you've done in the past that have been helpful? Meetings and sponsor?
No, I have never done that before.
No? Okay, you took the Tier 4 program. Is that a sort of a more
That
intensive program than you've ever taken before?
Yes, it was.
What have you done in the community in terms of treatment? Anything
Out in-
recent?
Out in the public? Not in
Yes.
here? Oh,
Not there, yeah.
as for treatment, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
Just
Okay.
my doctor that prescribes my Suboxone.
Okay. So is Tier 4, was it new to you in terms of
Yes.
an intensive program?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I've only done a 30-day rehab before, and that wasn't, this was 8 months.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What do you
So it
think
really
was-
helped me.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. I mean, it is probably the Tier 4 program. It's probably one of
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah, it is.
Department of Corrections.
Yeah.
And not everybody is fortunate to get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
I wrote when I first got here to get into it.
why was that?
I just heard about it through everybody and that it was a long program, 8-month program. I believe it took me 8 months to complete.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I heard you say that you're going to go to meetings, get a sponsor. What else have you thought about in terms of your aftercare?
I'm gonna attend church, take care of my mother. My mother's elderly. She means a lot to me in my life. So I've been getting a job and attending CCAR in New Haven.
Okay. What do you know
That's a
about
volunteer.
CCAR?
It's a volunteer-based program where you go in and volunteer with other, like to become a recovery coach. And Gateway offers, I think it's called the DART program at Gateway. They offer a program there to become a recovery coach and help other addicts in my situation.
Yep, that's all very true. That's correct. But
Yeah.
CCAR also, before you put yourself out there to become a recovery coach, seems to me you also have to be, more engaged with your own recovery, committed to your own sobriety.
You do. Yeah,
You do.
that's why in the future.
Yeah, in the future. But
In the
CCAR
future.
also, in terms of somebody that is coming out of incarceration, what do you think CCAR could do for you?
I think they'll provide me with a sponsor and just being around, people in my situation. It helps to talk about things, in the past.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
go
you
ahead.
could get your own recovery coach.
Yes, exactly.
And why is it that you've never gone to meetings in the community like AA or NA or got a sponsor before? Because, you've been on medically assisted treatment for a while.
Nobody's ever offered it. Like, it's never been around me. No one's ever offered it to me. I don't even know where there's a meeting at home. Well, when I was out there in the past, I've never been around anybody that did any of that.
Are there any other programs at York that you think you could benefit from?
I just believe the Maryland Maker program really helped me, actually. That was like the best thing I completed here.
And when did you finish that?
I believe it was in February.
Okay. Yep. February of this year, yeah.
Yeah.
And have you ever done a parenting class?
I think that when with my 25-year-old, when I got a divorce. Actually, no, they made me take one through New Haven when I applied for. They made me take one recently. I did a parenting class out of New Haven courthouse.
Okay. How long ago do you think that was?
Maybe 3 years ago.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you talked to me earlier about, you were very emotional during this and sort of how the catalyst for it all. And, you felt like your daughter was distressed and you wanted to calm her, soothe her, I guess, maybe, and be with her. But what do you think when all this is going on between the parents, how do you think that affects the child?
No, it's absolutely horrible. It is absolutely, and I wish he would see that too. You
Well,
know,
how
I
about
really,
do you see that?
exactly, yeah, of course I do. I don't want that for her at all. My parents didn't fight. Well, when they did, you know, it would really upset me when I was little, even just the smallest thing of them like betting against each other. I think about, you know, so I don't want her to see us fighting or anything like that. She needs a loving parents in her life. And her, you know, she needs both of her parents in her life.
She needs to see that her parents can work together.
Yeah, exactly.
Benefit.
So all of this is really ridiculous when it comes down to it, like fighting with each other. It's, I don't know. It's just,
I mean, and you're paying, you know, quite a price.
I know.
You know, you're
And she
to be
misses me.
incarcerated for three years.
Yeah. And
That's-
she misses me. She needs her mother. She's 7 years old now. You know, little girls need their mom. Oh,
And she visits you at the facility? Did I hear you say
No.
that?
I haven't seen her. I have visitation rights, but I can't speak to him. So, and I don't think he could get into the facility. So he can't bring her. You know, he has custody of her. And my mom's older. So,
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
When you've taken the Beyond Violence program, do you talk about the trauma for the child that gets sort of stuck in the middle of these domestic disputes?
Yeah, it is horrible. Yeah, it's, I mean, I never wanted this for her. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know what I was thinking, you know, fighting with him in front of her. It's absolutely horrible.
And I know I've asked this already. I'm still a little bit unclear on your plan. Is you're going to get an attorney, which, you know, is absolutely the right way. And that could take months though, to get back into court, to even get some kind of partial visitation. Emotionally, how have you prepared yourself for that?
I believe, I don't know. Well, just being not able to see her for 1.5 years, of course, you know, I try not to think about her as much, like, you know, it's sorry to say, but that's just how I emotionally deal with it. So, I believe I have visitation right now, but I don't know if like my parole officer, because she was a victim, will let me have contact with her. But, you know, just being here for 1.5 years, actually he didn't let me see her before that. I would see him like at the store or something and she would run up to me and he would grab her and take her away. So I haven't seen her in a while. It's been a while.
So if that happens, right, because parole is going to work with the courts. Parole is, you know, they're whether you get parole today or community release or you're on probation, however that it all shakes out, they're going to work with the courts. And everybody wants what's in best interest of the child. Exactly. So you're in a store, you see your daughter.
I'm going to turn around and walk the other way. I'll give her a hug and say hi, but I'm not speaking to him like I used to.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard though. Those emotions run very high.
Yeah, they do. I know.
And it's clear you're bitter still.
Yeah. Well, I love my daughter. That's, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. I love her, but, you know, I don't want to come back here. So that's what it comes down to.
And, you know, we did not talk very much about your operating under the influence. And, you know, you were convicted of it.
I pled guilty. I took it to court for 4 years. DCF found no neglect in 2 weeks. They threw that out and found no neglect. But I took my medication that morning and I was just up sick and tired from taking care of her. I'm 46 years old and I was 41 with a 2-year-old. So, but you know, I was on my medication, but I was also tired.
Okay, and
You know.
I read all of that. That is all in the report.
Is it in the
and
report?
This is your explanation, right? So
Yeah.
what I wanted to say was, what's your takeaway from that? I mean, I know you prescribe medication, but if you take a cold medicine, they sometimes it says on the bottle, don't drive.
Don't drive,
So
yeah.
what's your take? What is the lesson learned from that incident?
The lesson learned is don't drive. If I feel like I'm too tired to drive or anything, just don't drive, especially with my child in the car. Anything could have happened. Thank God it didn't, but
it created
a big, yeah.
created a lot of instability for the child. I read your brother had to be called, your mom was called.
Yeah.
A lot of fear, a lot of instability. So, I don't dispute that they're prescribed medications for you, but operating a motor vehicle sometimes, may not be the best.
Yeah, I wasn't thinking clearly. We were up with COVID all night long. It was our first time getting COVID, and I just wanted to go get gas to go take her to my mom's the next day. And I wanted to put her to sleep so I could get some rest. I was like, come on, let's go to the gas station. We'll take a little ride in the car. And I was like, that'll get her to nap. And it did, but then it also got me to fall asleep.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
Your whole situation seems to be, just a series of maybe poor decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Bad decisions,
You're right.
poor judgment.
Mm-hmm. You're absolutely right.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Master. I'll see if
Thank
my
you.
colleagues have any questions. Ms. Keys?
Thank you. I do have some. So with regard to the, the falling asleep at the wheel, we've heard different explanations. In the police report, you said you were remodeling your house and was just tired from working. In the notes from your interview with Officer Boysport, you said you were up all night with a sick daughter, so that's the COVID.
Mm-hmm. She was sick. It was all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were also remodeling the house. Okay.
Yes.
But you were also, when they woke you up, or when you woke up, you were so out of it. You couldn't, you were slurred speech. You could not stand upright. You kept having to lean on things for support. When they asked you questions, it took a long time for you to have to kind of process it.
Yeah.
And then, so that just doesn't sound really like just, tired. Trust me, I understand all of the other lifestyle things that make us extraordinarily exhausted and
yeah, I don't know what it was that day because I've been driving. Honestly, I've been on my medication for years, and I've had my license since I was 16 years old with no DUIs. So, and I've been on medication since I was 18. So, and the combination of them for about 15 years. So I've had a license in good standing the entire time.
Well, so you had the one we were asking about from December 2021, but then in May 25, you were convicted of a second DUI. Looks like there's 2 DUIs.
I've never been convicted of 2 DUIs.
I can double check, but it looks like the operating under the influence of a small child was in 2021, but then a DUI in 2025. The conviction date was May.
That's the conviction. That's when I finally pled out to that.
For that same instance?
That's
not a separate occasion?
That's the same one.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned also, just briefly, I just want to mention, you had talked about too, like looking for a parking space you could park because she had finally fallen asleep and you want to bring her in the store. I just want just to make sure you know that leaving her in the car if you go in the store.
No, but I was going to just lock the door and open the door to the store because the cash register was right there and just throw the money on the counter. That's normally what I do.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
$10 and pump 4 out the door.
Okay. And at that time, you had, so your ex had full custody and you had supervised visits at a family center, right?
No, I had custody of her at that time.
But there was a protective order that also
he probably had. I think I had one against him at that time.
I don't have that or that. Okay, well, I have that, he had full custody and a protective order that also extended to the child.
Not,
And that
not
you
when
had
I got,
supervised visits.
when I got pulled over with her?
No, for the violation of the protective order, that you had supervised visits at a family center and that he had
Yes.
custody. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yes. I thought you were
Okay.
talking about the incidents in the car.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't clearly differentiate that. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Okay, so that was true. So at the time of the violation of protective order, you had supervised visits at the family center.
Right, but I wasn't seeing her at the time because because there was no DCF involvement, like he wouldn't agree to my mother. He was just being very hard. Like he wouldn't agree to my mother being a supervised person. He wanted his family to do it. His family doesn't speak English. I didn't want to go over there. Like it was just, there was no center involved because DCF was not involved, so they wouldn't pay for that. So I wasn't seeing her at all.
So maybe it was supposed to be a family center, but no one was paying for it.
I don't know why it says that. I was trying to go to this one in Bridgeport that my insurance would cover, but then I found this place that came up. It was hard to find this place that actually came to the house. And then I wound up doing that and it got all messed up, you know?
Okay. All right.
Yeah, nobody was helping me. Like we would go to court and he would say, oh no, your mom's not going to supervise it. Your brother's not going to supervise it. I want my family. Like it was just ridiculous. And there was nobody, DCF was not involved. So nobody was doing it at a center, you know, or anywhere where I could see her. I had to find somebody to come to the house. It was called, I think that's who I plan on using when I get home. I forget the name of them. It's in my phone.
Okay. And then were you supposed to communicate through an app with your ex regarding the child? So when you wanted to,
Yeah.
ask about her, you're supposed to use an app.
I think it was, I don't remember the name of that app either.
Close?
App Close, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But then the texts and stuff that were coming, like, because some of them were like late at night, like after 11 at night and stuff, and wanting to talk to your daughter.
Yeah, he would call me in the middle of the night with her sometimes if she woke up crying for me, so, and she was up late sometimes because of his work schedule. So it's just, that's how it was,
And then I think I just had one, so the night you went over, or the morning you went over, she was about 5 at the time. It sounded like you were up all night, you were out all night until about 3 in. And then at 7 said, I'm going to get my baby, and left, and we're wearing all black and had the knife.
It was just drugs made me a person I'm not. I'm not. You know what I mean? Like a person I was not raised to be. That's not who I am at all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you've considered how your daughter experiencing that? Have you considered how that would impact her? Okay.
Of course.
Okay.
I didn't even see her when I went there.
Right. But you went there with a knife.
I went there to threaten him, because he wasn't letting me see her. And like I said, drugs made me a person I'm not.
So that would be terrifying for her, right? I'm sure she loves both of you. I would guess. I don't need to speak for her, but I would assume she loves both of you. But he's been her stability for the past several years. He's been a stable person. So she would certainly love him, and she wouldn't want anybody that she loves. I'm assuming, and I shouldn't speak for her, and I apologize for that. But I just want to consider the impact on how she would have experienced that moment. I'm glad to hear that you're planning on utilizing those official networks moving forward, so that hopefully you and your daughter can have a stable, loving, safe home, and stable, loving, happy parents, and but everything will go less conflict. And so I appreciate you sounds like you can.
Want. Yeah. That's all I want.
She'll really need that with what she's gone through. Some stability and not witnessing more conflict and stuff. So she's free to love you both, whatever she wants to do. Okay.
Thank you.
I think So for your release plan, you have, your mom did confirm. Okay, and you do have a therapist and a psychiatrist, assisted medications. Okay, I think that's all I have. Thank you. I appreciate you answering my questions. I know that was difficult. I appreciate you
Thank
getting through
you.
that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Paul, okay. We're all done with our questions for now. We will now hear from the Office of Victim Services. Ms. Massick, please don't interrupt, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Ms. Vasquez.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. I had the opportunity to speak with the victim of this case, and he has asked me to read this statement on his behalf. Good morning, board members. Protective and restraining orders were in place for so long, and even that wasn't enough to stop Susan's behavior. The fact that she is now applying for parole tells me that she has been able to control her emotions and anger while incarcerated. What is difficult for me to understand is that when she was out in the community with every opportunity, support, and clear boundaries in place, she did not show the same level of control. She managed to get sentenced for harassment only, but that's not all that she did. It was physical, emotional, and financial harm she made sure she put on my shoulders. The last time Susan got close to us, it was when early in the morning, she entered my house, armed with a kitchen knife, and was pushing the door where I was getting the baby ready for the day. My biggest concern continues to be the safety and emotional well-being of our daughter. I think it is fair to ask, has Susan made any real effort to reduce her dependency on medications like Xanax and Suboxone, especially after being on them for decades? It deeply concerned me when I saw her take large amounts of Xanax at once and then attempt to drive with our baby daughter in the back seat. When I intervened, she would turn things around onto me. I need to know if she's addressed those patterns. Has Susan made any attempt to read a single book to develop parenting skills or anger management? Only by being in my shoes will you be able to really understand the extent of damage and recklessness she has caused in our lives. I am asking the parole board that Susan completes her sentence so I can build stability for our daughter and myself. It's easy to break people's lives, but it takes time to rebuild them back again. This isn't out of resentment. It's about ensuring genuine change and growth, not just within prison, but for her own life. Another concern is that until Susan can honestly recognize and address the struggles and addictions that she has affected her life, I fear the same painful patterns may continue. Our daughter enjoys many things in life, but I've been able to see what she truly wishes for deep inside is a healthy mom, and it breaks my heart. Her wish still hasn't come true, and it probably never will. Thank you, board members. This is all that I have from the victim.
Thank you, Ms. Vasquez, and thank you to the victim for providing the statement for today's hearing. We appreciate it. We know it's hard to go back and relive everything that goes on, but it is helpful. All right, Ms. Massick, we are all done with that portion of the hearing. We'll deliberate and give you our decision in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
Okay. So Ms. Mastay, she's here today for violation of probation with underlying offenses of violation or protective order. She has 2 new convictions for violation of protective order that involve text messaging, threats, harassment of the victim. They do share a child, and that is the crux for all of the, I guess the harassing and the texting, it's all seems to surround the custody of the child. And then she has the operating under the influence, which involved her taking medications and then driving. And the medications caused her to be impaired at the time. She does have a criminal history that includes some breach of peace, reckless driving, reckless endangerment, larcenies, burglaries. She's been on probation in the past, which I brought up during the hearing. She has had struggles with probation or community supervision a number of times. And then, like we said, today she's here for a violation of probation. To her credit, she has no disciplinary reports in the time that she's been incarcerated. She's had good conduct throughout this hearing. She's completed a number of programs on her OAP to include New Thoughts, which she has mentioned a few times, developing coping skills, ways to manage her emotions. I felt like it took a little bit to pull the information out. I do think that I was able to glean offender change, what she learned, a recognition and a responsibility for her behaviors, and most importantly, how it affects the child in all of this. In terms of her substance abuse, she did complete the Tier 4 program. She completed that most recently in February, and she also completed the domestic violence program in November 2025. She continues to manage her substance abuse through medically assisted treatment, which she seems to plan to continue to do that in the community with a relapse plan that includes support in the community through therapy, treatment with her psychiatrist, supportive groups through NA. She mentioned CCAR. Her mother has agreed to be her sponsor for a place to live when she gets out. There are protective orders in place. I feel like we drilled down on those pretty emphatically about what that involves. So based on my review of the file, the program's completed. She does score at a moderate range for risk to recidivate, has support in the community, programs set up to support. I would be in favor of granting her discretionary parole. I do think that a number of the programs that she has completed do address some of the concerns that the victim noted in his statement. So I am in favor of granting discretionary parole today. Ms. Keys?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a difficult one. As Ms. Meste, as you had mentioned, completed the programming and everything and has not earned any DRs. However, I remain concerned with evidence change. It seems and I understand as, a parent, the hyper-focusing on your child, of course, parents, that's what we do. There are children. So I absolutely understand that. That would certainly be my focus as well. But considering the nature of the offenses and then hearing her discussions today and explanations today, I'm concerned that there's that there hasn't been much of a change in that focus and boundaries and recognizing that the role and the position the victim has been put in. And there seems to be still significant blaming of the victim disproportionately to recognizing the harm she caused and how that would impact the child. So I would be a no today for evidence change and or performance, also because of the 11 times on supervision with 6 failures, which I know is kind of almost 50-50. But I'm just concerned with violations of protective orders and being on community supervision and still engaging in behavior. I'm really happy she completed Tier 4. It's wonderful. I'm really happy she completed New Thoughts. Those are excellent and directly related. But I'm really comfortable with how I heard it today. Sorry.
Okay. Mr. Pohl?
So I agree with what you laid out in the beginning, Madam Chair. I think supervision would help prior to release to probation.
Yeah, I think the level of parole supervision does assist in terms of managing what will be a challenge for Ms. Meste going forward when she first comes out to the community. And then we'll put some conditions in place. Okay. So for conditions, I have halfway house, no operation of a motor vehicle without the parole officer's permission, community-based treatment for domestic violence and mental health evaluation and treatment as deemed necessary, and no contact without the parole officer's permission with victim AO and EO. Is that right? Okay, and all those,
Sorry, just the halfway house.
got it. Oh, it's not needed. Thank you. So we'll remove the halfway house because we did confirm the sponsor. So mental health evaluation and treatment, no operation of a motor vehicle without the parole officer's permission, community-based treatment for domestic violence, no contact with victims AO and EO without the parole officer's permission.
Right.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. And that's for evidence of offender change. Okay. All right, Ms. Massa, you were voted to parole today by majority decision. You know, the main focus for us are that you obey by those protective orders and participate in the treatment that you've outlined.
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
Yeah.
Is the hearing for Susan Mastin in 381552.
Not sure what to be more stunned by, the complete incompetence of this parole board, or that Keys actually did something that might have to question her whole, how I call her the empty soup, because I think this is the very first time that she had a differing point of view. You wouldn't have gotten that throughout all of the interviewing. You would have just assumed that she was going along with everyone else. But I will have to admit it, if I'm wrong, if we see more of Keys finding her own and dissenting from the majority, I will take away the name that she has earned, the empty suit. But this is the crazy thing about this board. It's like, the moment we begin to think, well, I think Smith Palmieri is like a good head on our shoulders, and there are a few parole board members that you start to feel somewhat good about, then you see a parole hearing like this. Like, to actually at the end of this hearing to say things that did not happen, say the reasons for parole is that you feel that she has taken accountability and she has insight. And it's like, what? This hearing is the poster child hearing. We all saw this. All of us saw this with our own eyes. We heard it with our own ears. This is someone who is still in denial. The max degree of denialism is humanly possible. She is like totally has grown nothing. This is her parole hearing. This is like her moment to put on an act, a show, and she can't even do that. I don't know. I was at I had we both had COVID and we were tired and I don't know. I fell asleep, but I was exhausted. No, it was nothing at all. Oh, I went to the house with the knife. It's like, shut up. They need to rail into her. They need to be like, you've learned nothing. You need to sit in prison. You need to grow up. And what's interesting is that the victim impact statement, he doesn't understand how parole works. He doesn't understand that that doesn't mean anything for show up to parole hearing. That is her legal right to have a parole hearing. It's written in the legislation. She could have had 100 write-ups and still gotten a parole hearing. It's not like Louisiana where you actually have to somewhat earn a parole hearing. No. In Connecticut, a pulse gives you a parole hearing. And but outside of that, he basically states, he's like, she's never going to change. And she's been an addict her whole life and she can't take accountability. And he said it exactly how it is, exactly what we saw. And the parole board just totally ignores all the facts so that they can send her out with additional supervision. This is somebody who was on parole to begin with for a protection order and then violated that protection order twice. I predict right now, and you leave your thoughts in the comment section, that we will see her again. While you're leaving your thoughts, let me know how you like the setup. As you can see, we can now see the parole board members. And so I set it up where there's a little image here. And I know for youth watching TV, that might be good, but maybe for fun, it's not. Do you prefer I do something else? Let me know, because I'm not comfortable with really making that decision on my own. I do need feedback for that, how I should set it up. I wish I could do, a perfect side-by-side screen, but I can't. Look at, remember, Connecticut only shows 10 years of records. We all know that it's longer than this, but possession, which of course, to get 1 year jail for possession, you obviously know that there was a lot of smoke and fire before this. Then you have the 5/4/2017 burglary, 3rd degree, 3 years suspended, right? Let's just watch how much suspended time she earns in her lifetime. Here she has use of paraphernalia. She gets fined 500. This is 1 year after she has suspended sentence. So you would think that if if it's 1 year after, why wouldn't you then, not even 1 year, less than a year, it's like 6 months, wouldn't you then get served the suspended sentence? No, of course you don't. It's all a joke. 5/16/2018, conspiracy to commit larceny, 50, 45 days she'll wait, but she owes 3 years, you would say. Why are you getting 45 days jail? 9/13/2018, reckless driving, unconditional discharge. Why not? She is dangerous. The idea that it's like 8/24/2019, assault 3rd degree, 1 year suspended, probation 2 years. Why is it suspended? You still owe 3 years. Okay, let's not talk about this. We don't have PhDs. We wouldn't know that. Breach of peace 2nd degree, 6 months suspended. Violation and condition of release 2nd degree, 8/14/2019, 1 year. Again, more suspended. Wait, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I know that we're not mathematicians. I know we don't have PhDs, but I'm pretty sure I'm counting about like 10 years in suspended sentences. What's the what? I'm not good at math, but what's going on here? Then she has 12/16/21 OUI, right, with a child in the car, $500 fine, 364 days jail. 10/5/2022, breach of peace 2nd degree. By the way, don't worry, this one, she was just gonna, remember, I was just COVID, fixing the house. I fell asleep. What's the big? I was just gonna go get gas and put the money in the register. I could touch the register and hold my car door at the same time. And just say $10, pump 5. That's so funny. And they're just like probably nodding along. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's funny. Leave your toddler in the car while you. Yeah, okay. Oh no, but you're. It keeps going, guys. The list: criminal trespassing, 3rd degree, 3 months suspended. Don't worry, guys. It's just suspended. 1/2/2023, larceny, 3rd degree, 3 years, again suspended. If we actually had to calculate this, it would probably be way more than 20 years, right? 11/9/23, violation of probation terminated. 5/5/23, larceny, 5th degree, 6 months suspended. 5/17/23, violation of protection order, 5 years suspended. This is 2023, another 5 years, all suspended. 11/20/2024, violation of probation revoked. Yahoo! 4 years suspended after 18 months. And then she, oh wait, there's another violation of protection order before that one. Attempted to commit larceny, 4th degree, and violation of a protection order, 7/2/2024. So this is the final one, 7/2/2024. So here, where she violates a protection order, she gets 5 years suspended, probation 3 years. Here she gets revoked, 11/20/2024. I don't know. Maybe this is the same revocation, but there you go. Not to mention, she shows up to this. I guess what gave her the protection order to begin with. I don't know if it's what gave it to her or if it's what came after, showing up with a knife and a mask. So I do think we will see her again. Thank you, Sir Richard, for pulling all the research on this case. And she is dangerous. She has learned nothing. And for some reason, they release her because they want to make some excuse about giving her more supervision. And that's just crazy. It's like she clearly needs to be given a very long sentence. She needs to somehow, there's something broken with her, right? You can't be at this age to be so unhinged and so impulsive and so out of control that for her own safety, she needs to be locked up for a very long time. But they don't see it that way here in the Connecticut Parole Board. We saw 2 hearings today that are just insane. We'll keep bringing them to you. Let me know how you'd like to see the format. And with that, I'll let you go.
I am asking the parole board that Susan completes her sentence so I can build stability for our daughter and myself. It's easy to break people's lives, but it takes time to rebuild them back again.